Welcome back to Crappy Camera Stuff. I'm Mike, the craptastic host of the worst camera show on YouTube. I dare you to find a worse one. So last video we loaded up some ancient slide film. Well, I went out and shot that, and I'll show you a little bit of the shooting process and explain what happened in a little bit more depth. But for those folks who want the TLDR, well, first of all, it was not that great. Just kind of majorly fogged. But first, I'm going to do a little shameless plug for a friend of mine. No, I'm not getting paid for this advertisement, but my friend Liz over at Jet Dog Designs, she designs and works with embroidery and all sorts of little custom doodads. So she made this really awesome camera keychain for me. Absolutely love it. It's great stuff. Why don't you go on over to jetdogdesigns.com or facebook.com/jetdogdesigns. So why don't you give her a shout there, see what she can do for you. Anyway, well, let's get working on why this ended up being as horrible as it is. Obviously, some 70-year-old film is going to have some problems, but this is solid black. I mean, you can't see anything. There's nothing there to see. So we're going to go over a little bit of why that happened. So just bear with me. We'll be right back.
Plastic is better. Wood is better. Plastic.
Oh, jeez. Hi. All right. So we have our results. It's they were a complete fail. There's nothing. There's no image. You can scan these all day long. There's nothing to be found. What happened is the film fogged over, meaning it was poorly stored, or the age just got to it, and it just broke down essentially. The grain structure just kind of broke down over the years and was exposed to radiation, exposed to heat, exposed to the elements. Despite being in that neat little sealed container, these things can still affect film, and obviously really did here. How did we get here? What did we do to try to process it? We used what's called stand developing, which basically for those of you who've never developed black and white film or developed your own film in general, the most at-home kits, you're gonna put the film on a reel. You're gonna put that reel in a tank, and then you're gonna use your various chemicals. You're gonna pour them in, pour them out, and agitate. What they call agitate, which is basically just spinning the tank. Or you can do what's called stand developing, which means you put the film in the tank, you put the tank down, and just let it sit for, in this case, an hour. You use a chemical called HC-110. It's Kodak chemical. Yes, Kodak still makes chemicals for black and white processing. Now, why would we use a black and white process for color film? Well, with old color film, you're actually more likely to get a better result from black and white processing. Obviously, you get a black and white image, but you get a better result than you would processing it in a color process. Usually because the way that the film, there's silver halide crystals in it, it responds better to it tends to respond a little better to the black and white developing system. And the chemicals for developing this particular film, the process is long dead. Probably gone for at least 50 years, I would imagine. So there really was no hope to develop this in any sort of color. If you develop, say, 30-year-old film in color, if it wasn't stored well or something like that, you're likely just to get a washed out kind of ghost image. And you're more likely to get a higher contrast, usable image out of black and white processing of that color film. Anyway, yeah, so this is what you get after 70 years. 70 years took their toll between heat, between background radiation, between other radiation from, oh boy, all sorts of things, atomic testing, whatever. That all has a negative effect on film. Just basically destroyed it. So now you know there are limitations to expired film. the new renaissance with film has people just trying to scavenge whatever used or whatever old expired film they can get their hands on. For whatever creative process, you don't know what you're going to get, or you get these fun color shifts and funky effects. Well, that seems to be quite popular right now, but it has its limits. I would not try that with 70-year-old slide film. Older black and white film is a lot more likely to get you a result, a usable result. Obviously, there's going to be deterioration, but you're a lot more likely to get anything out of it. But since this is an educational video, I did find something that maybe perhaps some of you new to film might not know about. All right, so 120 film, or medium format film generally, medium format roll film works a little differently than 35 millimeter. 35 millimeter, you have the film, you just kind of curl it across, you shut the camera on. It winds the film onto the spindle, and then you hit the rewind switch when you're done, and then you crank the rewind lever, and it all goes back into the canister that came with. All right. Well, 120 is one direction. You have the film on your original spool. You have a take-up spool. So the film winds out from this and goes onto this take-up spool. So when you're finished with the film, you pull out the original spool that the film was on. It will be empty. That take-up spool will have the film on it. It'll have usually there's a little piece of paper, a leader, that will allow you to. It's like a stamp. You lick it, and it's adhesive. You pull it around and it keeps the film from falling off the spool, and having the edges all exposed and stuff like that. Well, a lot of early medium format cameras had these little windows. Really neat. There's multiple formats to medium format, which is the interesting thing about it. There's 6 by 4.5 centimeters. It's generally metric. 6 by 6 centimeters, 6 by 9 centimeters. There's more out there, obviously, but those are the most common. And most early, I'm going to say almost all early roll film cameras had these little red windows. Usually red. There are a couple that were green. They had these little red windows that you would line this up with. Now, depending on the format of the camera, if the camera was a 6 by 6, you would line this one up. You would crank the film, or you'd load the film at the start point, which is way back here somewhere right there. You'd shut your camera, and then you would crank the film advance until that shows up in the little red window for the 6 by 6. Now, if you're shooting a 6 by 4.5, you'd line that one up. Versus a 6 by 9, you'd line it up there. Now, if you notice, these are all in different places. One 6 by 6 image is going to be bigger than two, or it's going to be bigger than a 6 by 4.5. So you get two in about the space of 1.5 of those. Here you have the 6 by 9, which you're up to 4, the 6 by 4.5 already, and then you've got the square images. You've got the square images as a kind of medium size there. So yeah, it's a really interesting little feature. Maybe I'll put that on another video next time. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I know I did, and yeah, happy shooting.